Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Read the verse 17. Manasantu kim margane krute Naiva manasam marga arjavat. Manasantu kim margane krute. Manasantu. Tu means parantu. However, showing the difference between what preceded and what follows. What preceded was then taking the mind to be real, that the mind is a real problem, and therefore to become free from the problem that is mind and the problem created by mind, it is necessary to quieten the mind completely, so that there is no mind to create problem. And that is what was said, Yoga Shastra, Nashtamanaso Utkrishta Yoginaha. A yogi, Utkrishta yogi, whose mind is nashtam, is destroyed as a troublemaker. So mind is accepted as a troublemaker, and you do something with it to keep it under check. But is the mind a troublemaker? We've taken for granted that mind is a problem, that we should bring the mind under control, we should do something with it, because otherwise, as it is creating problem. So the Vedantin asks that before you proceed to do anything with the mind, you should know what the mind is, then you can decide what to do. We should understand something first before we know how to deal with it. So the Vedantin says, Manasantu kim. What is this mind? Iti margane krute. Marganam, anveshanam, investigation, inquiry, deliberation. Inquire into, deliberate into, investigate into what this mind is. Once you properly understand the mind, then decide what you want to do with it. whether it is necessary to do something, and if so, what to do. Says, iti margane krute, when that marganam, that anveshanam, the investigation is carried out, is to know what the mind is, what is the reality of the mind. What mind is will be described in subsequent verse. But as our Puja Swami would say, Vedanta deals with the realities of life. The life consists of myself, the individual, the world with which I interact, and Ishvara who has created the world. These three together make up my life. Before you go ahead and decide what you want to do, why you want, what, first understand what these three things are. What is the reality about the individual? What's the reality about the universe? What's the reality about Ishvara? First understand that, determine that, and then you decide what you want to do, if there is any need to do something. If you understand all this, which presently look three different entities. The individual is different, the world with which I interact is different, Ishvara who has created the world is different. So when I do not inquire into the realities of these three, then I take for granted that these three are different. I am different from the universe, I am different from Ishvara, world is different from Ishvara, Ishvara is different world. All this we take for, that's how we live our life. And when something is different, you can never know it totally, you can know it only partially. Any entity that is different from me, I am only exposed to one side of it, one aspect of it. I cannot simultaneously see everything about it, you understand? Therefore, my knowledge of anything is going to be limited. What I need is a total perspective. So yes, there are differences, no doubt about that, but then are these differences superficial or are these differences fundamental? That there is one ornament here, there is another ornament here, a third ornament there, and they are different, there are differences. But at what level are the differences? At the level of name and form. But fundamentally they are one. Now when we do not look into that, then this Bengal will think that this wristband is different and I am different, and look, this is so nice. It is so rich, so heavy, so well carved, so beautiful. Look at me. So moment you think something is different, you can only know one part of it, and then comparison takes place and complexes are generated, and then giving reality to those complexes, we live our life. So Vedanta says that inquire, that is the world different and you are different, Ishvara is different. At one level, yes, the level of name and form, but the core level. So that's the inquiry that Vedanta does, inquiry, that's the vision that Vedanta provides. I shouldn't use the word inquiry, the vision. Because our Puja Swami was very emphatic in saying Vedanta is pramanam. Yes, pramanam is valid means of knowledge. Just as your faculty of hearing is pramanam, means of knowledge for perceiving or knowing the sounds and the words, Similarly, Vedanta is a pramanam, the means of knowledge to reveal the truth. Every pramana reveals its corresponding object. The faculty of hearing reveals sounds. Eyes reveal colors. So Vedanta is pramanam for what? For the reality of life. Therefore Vedanta reveals the true nature of realities. Who am I? Who is the world? What is the world? What is Ishvara? In one sentence. Tattvamasi. Tat means that which is remote, Ishvara, or the world separate from you. You are one. So meaning, what does it mean? The reality of you is the same as reality of Ishvara. Same as reality of the world. Even though these three are different at a certain level, superficial level. The costume here is different, Ishvara's costume is different, the world's costume is different. But the one who wears that costume, that is not different. One alone has assumed these various costumes and sports, plays the roles of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. First understand, then you decide what you want to do. Because presently I am fighting with this world. The world is different, I am different. When there is a duality, then there is all the fear involved there, uncertainty is involved, fear is involved. I always am apprehensive, suspicious. They are saying something, but what do they mean? They are looking this way, what does it mean? The whole basis assumption is wrong. Well, Swami, now you told me that we are all one, so what difference does it make? It makes a lot of difference. But it's not my experience, it doesn't matter. But at least you can understand that yes, it makes sense. The Upanishad or the teacher simply do not make the statement but explain to you why is it so. That yes, Vedanta does not dismiss differences, it explains differences. You follow? So there is no duality, no difference. You can't, that bangle is different and chain is different. Nobody can say they are not different. But difference is at one level. At a given level, they are one. If bangle knows that I am gold and the earring also knows I am gold and nose ring also knows I am gold, then they can very comfortably relate to each other in spite of their size and appearance and place being different. Isn't it? Otherwise all complexes. Nose ring is so small, so little. And the earring can be so large, big. What was happening to ears? Such heavy things, they are suspending here. Here is something and there is something else. So similarly also, manasantu kim, understand what is the reality of the mind. Naiva manasam, then the mind is no more. What is the part? Understand the reality of part, then part is no more. But I see the part, you see the part, you perceive the part all right. Perception is one thing and the conclusion is a different thing. Interpretation is different. We perceive things and our mind or intellect interprets what it perceives. One is called pratiti, what we perceive. Other is called drishti, how we see things. When I look at the mirror, then I perceive a Swami in there. What my mind says, it is I. When I look at you, my mind perceive, my eyes perceive, and my mind says it is different. So the perception is one thing, interpretation is different thing. So Vedanta teaches us how to interpret, not how to perceive. That we know how perception takes place. What is the reality of what you are perceiving? So you are perceiving here a part. But you interpret what? This is a part. Now when you inquire into what is this part, then it turns out to be nothing but clay, and therefore, even though you perceive the part, in your mind you know that what there is clay. You follow? So even though part is perceived, there is no part as far as your interpretation is concerned, your understanding is concerned. Inquire into what the part is, and there is no part. Inquire into what the creation is, there is no creation. What applies to part applies to the whole universe. Similarly also, when you inquire into what the mind is, now your mind is no more there. What does it mean? Mind no more is seen to have any reality. A part does not have to disappear as an entity. Part can remain as an entity and still disappear. It can remain an entity as far as perception is concerned, but it can disappear from an understanding that, hey, this part is mithya. What is this clay? So in appreciation of the fact that this is clay, the part has disappeared. This is called disappearance of part. One disappearance is that disappears from the eyes. Other disappearance is it disappears from your understanding, meaning that in reality. Then the pratyaya in the mind is this is clay. Similarly, mind may not disappear as an entity, as a faculty. Naiva manasam, my mind no more remains. Doesn't mean mind disappears as a faculty. Mind now is recognized as having no independent reality. Therefore, is of no consequence. When you recognize part does not have independent reality, it has no consequence. It is there, well and good. It does not add anything to clay. It is not there. It does not take anything away from clay. That's called mithya. Although in vyavahara there is value addition. There is value addition. This part will cost more than a lump of clay because value is added. That's vyavahara. But in reality, you are not doing anything, not adding into clay, it still remains clay, weight is the same, everything is the same. Naiva manasam, the mind no more remains. Meaning that mind loses its reality. Habitually, we will consider as real whatever we perceive. What you perceive is real. Yes, Swamiji, this is real, tangible. This desk is tangible, is real, is solid, is it not so? But last night when I was dreaming, and I was conducting a class like this, there also I was thumping the table. This is a real table, solid, tangible. Where? In my dream class. When I wake up, the table is no more there. Just because it appears tangible doesn't mean it is real, understand? What is real? That which will never disappear. that which can never be negated, that which always was, is and will be called real. So dream Vedantins use the example of dream to understand the reality of waking. That when we wake up then, we know that the dream was all mithya. I had a jackpot in the dream of $34 million. When I wake up, not a penny in my pocket. So I know that was all mithya. I know what mithya is. If dream is mithya, then in dream also there was a subject, there was object, there was subject-object interaction was there. Then if that is mithya, then waking also is subject and object and subject-object. Should it not be mithya then? If dream is known as mithya, then the setup in the dream, what was the setup? Subject-object interaction. What is in waking? Subject-object interaction. Therefore, from the standpoint of reality, the waking also turns out to be mithya, like dream. When you know mithya is mithya, then you know that it is of no consequence. Clay plus mithya part remains still clay. Similarly also now, if things are added to me, what is added? The wealth and fame and power and this and that added to me makes nothing to me because satyam plus mithya is still satyam. Taken away also, it doesn't change anything. Take away the part from the clay still remains. Add something, still the clay remains. This is important. Right now I think that I am bigger because I am wealthier than before, so I am bigger. I am greater because I am more well known, etc., etc. So I seem to be becoming bigger and smaller based on what addition of world is. But that's all mithya. Therefore, satyam plus mithya remains. This is, thus if you understand the reality, then we know that adding something material does not really add any value to me as fundamentally I am, or subtracting something mithya from me also does not reduce any value basically from what I am. In that case, now the world has a different value for me. Not that I start hating, I still love, but I realize what it is, and therefore I don't run after things. No, I don't look upon, I don't impose value more than what it has. I know that world has usefulness in my life, nothing more than that. That money is useful, power is useful, fame is useful. Use it. Make good use of it. Not for consuming, as a contributor. But to think that I am greater than what I was because I have $1 million more, or I am less than what I was before because now I lost promotion, something like that. Now, thus judging myself based on what is added and subtracted, this is where the problem is. Our problems are all centered on I. When I find myself that now I am bigger and better than what I was, then I feel happy about myself. I am now less or reduced compared to what I was, I feel bad about myself. But if I recognize that nothing, I cannot become bigger and I cannot become smaller because I am the reality what it is, then other things are incidental. Then we give the value that is appropriate to everything. Right now I give value to the thing, I devalue myself and I give value to other things. So this understanding is very important. Understanding the world as mithya. Mithya means that it cannot intrinsically add in anything to me, nor can it intrinsically take anything away from me. And so, it seems that, say, Ashtavakra was visiting King Janaka, and they would have the satsanga classes in the morning, someplace away from the town, where Ashtavakra might have, he may be staying. So King Janaka would be attending, and then many other, a lot of satsanga sadhus also would come. So one day somebody complained that this Guruji is partial. He seems to be giving more importance to king because he is an emperor and we are nothing, therefore he doesn't seem to think much of us. This business, this dynamics always goes on. You think becoming parent is a demanding role, you become a teacher, then you will find out what it is. So then the teacher was made aware of this. One morning when the satsang is going on, all of a sudden they see in the distance flames. The whole city was, Mithila was in flames. As soon as this was seen, all sadhus started running. Because somebody has a cow pinna hanging there, somebody has something hanging there, So they all went there just to protect it, save it. But King Janaka just remained unmoved. I say, what is it? The city is burning. I said, Mithila is burning. What does it mean to me? Nothing. Mithila is added to me. I still remain what I am. It's taken away from me. I remain what I am. See, this knowledge gives us what an amount of strength. Coming from reality, not imagined strength. The strength we think is coming from the worldly things is all false. Because it's coming and going, it's very uncertain. Anyway, so that is how Vedanta just teaches us what is the nature of reality. That's all we need to know. Other details are not important. You may as well know if you have time and, if you wish to. Similarly, when we look, anything that is drishyam, anything that is perceived, anything that is objectified, yad drishyam tan mithya. What is drishyam, what is perceived, what is experienced, is jadam, is unconscious, is created, perishable. Therefore, doesn't have independent reality, is mithya. So having made this proposition in the verse 17, that this is a straightforward path. The path of this yoga, which was based on giving reality to mind and then manipulating the mind in various ways and quietening it. So the mind is no more there, physically. Say, same thing can be accomplished by understanding the reality of mind. Then also mind is not there, meaning it's not real. So that inquiry is now pursued. Verse 18 says, Vrittayastvaham vrittimashritaha vrittayo mano vidyaham manaha. In the second line of this verse, what is the mind? That question is answered here tentatively. He says, Vrittayo manaha. What is manaha? What is mind? Vrittaya. What is vritti? Vritti means a thought or a thought modification. A thought is a state of mind, by the way. Mind is a substance which keeps on constantly changing and assuming new forms. Like water assumes the form of waves, etc. So the mind substance keeps on assuming different form, and a given form is called a thought or a vritti. So what's the thought? A given state of mind. How does the state of mind arise? Because the object of the perception changes. We discussed yesterday, every thought has a corresponding object. A pot thought, a cloth thought, etc. Each is called a thought or a vritti or a state of mind. So what is mind? Nothing but a flow of these various thoughts, where each thought is recognized as different with other thoughts because each thought has its own name and form and characteristic. So pot thought has pot as a name and form, cloth thought as cloth as name and form. That's how, even though the mind stuff is the same, like water is the same, but it keeps on assuming different forms of waves also, the mind stuff keeps on assuming different forms called vritti or thought, different states of mind. So what is mind? The verse says, Vrittayo manaha. Manaha, what is manaha? Vrittaya. What is vritti? A thought. Mind is a thought, that's all. So manasantukim, what is mind? Answer is given, mind is nothing but thoughts. But then are all the thoughts of the same category? Or can thoughts be classified in different categories? Those who study Tattva-bodha will know that mind of antahkarana. So antahkarana. Antahkarana means inner organ. Bahishkaranam, antahkaranam. Outer organ, inner organ. So these organs of perception are outer organs with which we perceive things. Organs of action are outer organs with which we respond. So with organs of perception we receive the stimuli. Organs of action, we give response. That's how we receive stimuli, create stimuli. That's how the vyavahara goes on. But this can take place only when the mind is behind the organs. The mind should be there behind the organ of perception, then only perception can take place. Mind should be there behind the organ of action, then only action can take place. Otherwise, these words are uttered. There's no guarantee that the words are necessarily heard. Words are there, sounds are there, organ of hearing is there, but still hearing may not take place. When? If I dozed off, or my mind is someplace, today is now Labor Day, after lunch we have to leave at a given time, and then when shall we reach there, what is all waiting for me there, how about my children? No, grandchildren. One more added. What do you must be doing right now? How about having FaceTime, So poor Ramana Maharshi and poor Swami can talk about whatever they want. But if the mind is not behind these words, then words cannot be heard. That is our experience. So merely organs of perception are not enough to have the experience of objects, nor organs of action are enough to carry out action. Sometimes people are cooking, at home, and something stops, The mother has stopped doing things. And her mind, she's looking at some, mother means any X, Y, Z, All action, because the mind has gone someplace. And so action stops here. The milk may be boiling, things may be happening there, Oh, then you realize, because the stove becomes extinguished or something like that. Meaning that some faculty called mind is required for the organs of perception to do their job, or for the actions to do their job. So this is also, these organs of perception, action are external organs called, Bahya Karanani. Karanam means, organ. Mind is Antah Karanam, an inner organ. So external organs and inner organ. So their mind in Sanskrit is called Antahkaranam. But Antahkaranam also is divided into different categories. Do you know what those categories are? 4 categories. First is Manaha, Buddhihi, Chittam, Ahankara, right? Manaha, the feeling faculty, emotional faculty, reacting faculty. Buddhi, the knowing faculty, understanding. So same mind is called by different names. There are not 4 minds. There's only one mind. But mind performs different functions, and therefore it gets functional names. One man is called father, is called a boss, is called a devotee, bhakta, pujaka, pathaka. One gains different names depending upon the function that one performs. Functional names. You know what is functional name? Pachakaha, pathakaha, pathanat, when he is reading is called pathaka, cooking is called pachaka, driving is called driver. Same person can be have, depending on the function, one person can get different names. They are called functional names. Is it not so? So how many gods do we have? Brahma is one god, Vishnu is another one, Shivaji is third one, are there all these different gods? Or is one Ishvara? These are all functional names, performing variety of functions, and therefore is called by different names. So one mind also performing variety of functions is called by different names. When that mind is defined, sankalpa, vikalpatmika, antahkarana vrittihi manah, nisyatmika antahkarana vrittihi buddhihi, anusandhanatmika antahkarana vrittihi chittam. And fourth is ahankara, aham vrittihi. So we know that antahkarana, the inner organ, consists of vrittah, various vrittis. All those vrittis or thoughts or functions can be divided into 4 categories. But they can be further reduced to 2. These two dvidhastita, eka ahankritiranya syat antahkarana rupini. Sounds familiar to some. These two dvidha, that dhi or the mind is twofold. Eka ahankruti, one is called ahankruti, other is called antahkaranam. So all four thoughts can also be further classified into two categories, aham and idam. Aham vritti, ahankara and manaha, buddhihi, chittam, all of these fall in the category of idam. Aham is subject, idam is object. Understand that in our mind itself there is subject-object duality. Do you find sometimes talking to yourself? Sometimes, generally. In the mind, generally dialogue goes on, is it not so? So who is carrying out dialogue with whom? Mind is carrying out with one part of the mind, carrying out dialogue with the other part of the mind, is it not so? Or one part of the mind says, hey, wait a minute, what did you do? That means it is sometimes appreciating, sometimes scolding. So mind also has two basic parts. From four we can reduce this to two. One is called ahankriti or ahankara, the subject. Other is called the idam vritti, the object. The subject thought and the object thought. Right now also in you the subject thought, you are a listener, that's the subject. And when you hear these words, then the words take place, the vritti, that is the object. Idam vritti. Aham vritti and idam vritti. I thought and this thought. Subject thought, object thought. So all the thoughts can be further classified into two simple categories, subject thought and the object thought. The next question is, are these two thoughts having the same degree of importance, or one is more important or more powerful than other? Of this, the I thought always persists. Right now in you, the I thought is, I am a listener. In me, the I thought is, I am a speaker. When the class is over, I am a talker. Little later, I am an eater. Later, I am a packer. Little later, I am a driver. So how this, even I, but all along this I thought also changes, but then the I thought is persistently there in one form or the other. This thought changes. Driving, eating, walking, talking, that object thought, subject, object. The objects keep on changing. I am the seer. I am seer of trees, seer of walls, seer of human beings, seer of this. So seer remains, what he sees changes. The I continues, the I thought remains there, and this thought keeps on coming and going. So please tell me, who is independent and who is dependent? Of the subject thought and object thought, the I thought and this thought, who depends upon whom?
The I. Isn't the I depends on the object?
I depends upon the object. The subject depends upon object or object depends upon subject.
It can be debated depending on the situation.
If I close my eyes, no more the colors and forms are there. That means the object is not there. Do I still remain or not? If I plug my ears, then the sounds are no more there. But still, am I there or not? These object thoughts keep on coming and going, but the subject thought persists. And even if the object thought is not there, then also the subject thought, nothing is there, that persists. Is it not so? When you wake up in the morning, which one is the one who first wakes up? The I thought first wakes up. Then wait a minute, oh, I'm in a retreat. What's the time? 6:30. Oh, there is meditation, 7 o'clock. And, who wakes up first? The I thought wakes up the first. Then slowly I become aware of where I am. Oh, I'm not home. It's a different bed here. Surrounding is different. I'm in a retreat center. What are we doing here? Oh, we are going through this. What is the next? Class is 7 o'clock. Oh, forget, doesn't matter, I'll go to 9 o'clock class. That decision also you can make. So all the two kinds of thought. The I thought is an enduring thought. The subject thought is always there, the object thought comes and goes, there are times when the object thought is not there, then also the subject remains. Is it not so? Sometimes my mind is blank. There is no thought, but then also the I, the thinker, is there. So what is mind? Vrittayaha manaha. All vrittis, flow of the thoughts is called mind. These thoughts can be further classified as the I thought, the subject thought, and other thoughts called object thought or karana, instrument. The objects are in the world. It is karana through which I interact with them. And I am the... So, see for example, how does hearing take place? The words are there, you are the organ of hearing, and there is a hearer. So hearer hears the words through the organ of hearing. Here is called subject, words are called object, organ of hearing is called the instrument. The subject perceives through the instrument of perception the objects of perception. All the other things change. This fellow continues. Who? The subject in one form or the other. He also changes. Subject also changes. Now I'm speaker. You are hearer. Then I become something else. I become hearer. You become talker. So it's true that subject thought also changes. But always there in one form or the other. As far as object thought is concerned, it may be there or not there. And therefore, the object thought depends upon the subject thought. All vrittis or thoughts depend upon the I thought or aham vritti. That's what the first line says. Vrittayastatu aham vrittimashitaha. Vritti means idam vrittaya. All these thoughts, this thought, aham vrittimashita, they are all dependent upon the aham vritti, the I thought. All other thoughts are dependent upon the I thought. Of the two categories of thought, the I thought is independent and other thoughts are dependent. So this is their status. Because the object thought cannot take place unless the subject thought is there. Hearing cannot take place unless hearer is there. Seeing cannot take place unless seer is there. So seeing depends upon the seer. Hearing depends upon the hearer. And therefore all the other faculties, all other thoughts depend upon the I thought. So the first line says, Vrittayastu aham vrittimashita. All vrittis, all thoughts, object thoughts, they are all ashrita, dependent upon the subject thought. All vrittis are dependent upon the I thought. I thought is there, then those vrittis are there. Vrittis are not there, then also I thought is there. Therefore, I thought is independent, other thoughts are dependent. So what does it mean? Ultimately, there is only one thought called I thought. That alone becomes all other thoughts. See, now we are, our Ramana Maharshi is investigating, conducting an inquiry into what is the mind. Immediate answer is mind is thoughts. But when we further analyze the thoughts, then we find that the thoughts can be divided into two categories, the subject thought and the object thought, the I thought and other thoughts. When you further look at them, we find that the I thought always persists in one form or the other, whereas other thoughts come and go. Sometimes they are there or sometimes not there. Even when the object thought is not, the I thought is always there. Some object thought cannot be unless I thought is, whereas I thought is whether some object thought is there or not. Even if I don't do anything, no thought in my mind, then also I am there. So of these thoughts, of two categories, the idam vrittis, all other thoughts are dependent upon the I thought. They are all modifications of I thought. Therefore, now two categories of thought reduced to one category, I thought. So what is mind? Thoughts. What are thoughts? Two categories. What categories? I thought and other thoughts. Of them, other thoughts are dependent, coming and going. I thought, independent, always persists. Other thoughts are dependent upon I thought. Other thoughts are not apart from I thought. Therefore, ultimately, what is mind? Thoughts. What thoughts? I thought. So the last quarter of the verse is Vidyaham Manaha. Vidhi, may you know. Manaha, the mind is aham. Ultimately, mind is nothing but the I thought, aham vritti. So what is mind? Thoughts. What are thoughts? Two categories. Which two categories? I thought and other thoughts. Of them, other thoughts are dependent, I thought is independent. And therefore, what is mind really is nothing but I thought. Therefore, to understand the mind, understand the I thought. So what is I thought? That continues, we will see in the next verse. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.